Have you ever had a sexy empanada? Chris Watts did. Welcome to our Sunday edition of True Crime and Wine Couple. Today we'll be drinking cider because it's Sunday and we both have to work tomorrow. And I'd also like to put out a disclaimer that all of the information contained herein is for entertainment purposes only, or educational if I was teaching you, but I'm not. It's all our opinion based on the research we have done. And I've done extensive research, but no matter how much I do, there's still more to do in this case. And feel free to conduct your own research and see if you agree with us. If you disagree with us, be respectful, leave it in the comments. I would love to debate anyone about the Watts case.
All right, so here we go. And this is just going to be a brief overview. We are going to be doing some deep dive videos in the future. So we just wanted to sort of get, and I'm sure everybody that's watching probably knows everything about this case, but just for those who maybe don't know, Chris Watts, on August 13th, 2018 in Frederick, Colorado, murdered his pregnant wife, Shanann, and his two children, Bella and Celeste. Now, he worked for this company called Anadarko, and he buried Shanann in a shallow grave at his work site, and also put his daughters, Bella and Celeste, in the oil tanks at his work site. Shanann and the girls were reported missing later that day by Shanann's friend, Nichol Kessinger, and she was the one that had dropped her off earlier that night, and then so she was the last one to see her alive. Watts went on TV later that day to plead for his family's safe return. They were reported as missing, so nobody knew exactly what happened at that point. But on August 15th, just 2 days later, he was arrested for murdering his pregnant wife, Shanann, and his two daughters, Bella and Celeste, after confessing to the murder. On November 6th, 2018, so only a few months later, he pled guilty to multiple counts of first-degree murder, and as part of the plea deal, the death penalty was taken off the table, although it was about maybe a year later, Colorado got rid of the death penalty totally anyway. But he did have that in his plea deal, but he was sentenced to multiple life sentences without the possibility of parole. Now, the question is, what was his motive? Why did he do this? One theory is that the catalyst to these murders was his mistress, Nichol Kessinger. Now, who is Nichol Kessinger? Nichol Kessinger graduated from Colorado State University in 2013. And then she started working for Anadarko, the same company that Watts was working for, in the spring of 2018. Now, it's really hard to pinpoint exact dates. If anybody out there knows the exact dates, if you have a resume, if you have pay stubs, I mean, I want to see real stuff, not just theories. I want to have a paper trail.
Good luck with that.
I know. But so she supposedly started working at Anadarko in spring of 2018. She was a subcontractor for them, and she claims that she met Watts in June of that year after starting work there. She said when she saw him, he was cute. He wasn't wearing a wedding ring. They had shared a love of fitness, healthy eating, and carbs.
No,
I love carbs, but
no, they weren't fans of carbs.
No, they weren't fans of carbs, but they liked the carbs.
Yes.
Now, keep in mind that on these oil sites, a lot of the men don't wear wedding rings only because of a safety issue. They don't want them to get caught in the machinery. So it's not unusual that one of them wasn't wearing a wedding ring. Now, in June of 2018, Shanann went out of town. She went back to North Carolina to visit her family.
Late June, almost July.
Late in June. She went back to North Carolina to visit her family, and she was there from late June until early August. So Watts was free to live as a bachelor. NK, I'm going to refer to Nichol Kessinger as NK. NK could have stayed at Watts' house as often as she wanted to, but claims to have only been there twice because she didn't feel comfortable there. So that was her first claim that, I will question that one later. Now, NK claimed that she was not into any of the wealth and status and stuff that the Watts family had acquired. Yet she also freaked out seeing all the wealth and the stuff that they had acquired, and told him that he had a beautiful life. So there's another contradiction. What, which way is it? So, and she also was, we think, following Shanann on social media. So if she was doing that and knowing Shanann was all over social media. Every aspect of Shanann's life was all over social media. So NK would have known that A, Shanann was pregnant, B, that Watts and Shanann were not separated, that they were together still.
And I don't think she was a follow, but she was like kind of stalking her. She was
Exactly.
looking her up,
Yeah.
following her, Although she could have followed her because Shanann sold Thrive, and anybody, right? She could have, but I think it was more like she just stalked her.
So it's and it's just kind of hard to believe that she didn't know that Shanann was pregnant and that they were still together. That they weren't going through a divorce. But she had apparently told Watts that she had no first with him, and she wanted to give him a son. And as we all know, Shanann was pregnant, and she was pregnant with a son. So that leads, there's another aspect we can get into. Now, NK had stated, and this was during the police interviews, that things were very casual between her and Watts, that they never discussed marriage, they never discussed meeting his kids, or him leaving Shanann. And again, we will get into a lot more into that later on.
They're lying liars who lie.
There you go. And then on the day of the murder, NK contacted the police after she saw Watts on TV pleading for his family's safe return. And she stated that the reason that she contacted the police was because he seemed too casual. Too calm about everything, and it just struck her as not right. So she contacted the police and told them about the affair. Again, we'll get into that a little bit later, but...
Yes, this is an overview for our series.
Yes.
We're going to be deep diving into things, but today we decided to begin with an overview.
Right. So, just like you said, we're going to be deep diving in, especially into those Nichol Kessinger police interviews. There's a lot of contradictions in there that we want to cover. But for this particular video, we just wanted to sort of give an overview and sort of maybe hone in on one part of all this, which is when did Nichol Kessinger meet Chris Watts? There's a lot of back and forth on that. There is some evidence out there that she met him way before she even started working for Anadarko. Did you want to maybe
I'm not sure if it's
bit?
evidence, but there's a belief that she knew who Chris Watts was prior to meeting him, since she had searched him in 2017 and searched Shanann as well. So, one of the theories is that she saw him at the gym. Okay, and he was going to the gym, but then he stopped going to the gym because Shanann didn't like the time that his working out took away from the family. So he put a gym in the basement. So a lot of people think that she saw him at the gym first. They traveled in similar circles. There's also a claim that she might have met him seen him at some 4th of July thing where he was there with friends and Shanann was away.
Well, she did spend most of her life in Colorado, so
exactly.
It would make sense that they might cross paths, especially with similar interests.
Right, yeah, and if she did see him at the gym, and she said, who's that hot guy over there working out, or somebody, and somebody knew him and said who he was. Another thing too was Shanann was all over social media. So NK could have maybe been interested in purchasing Thrive. I mean, she was into health, she was into fitness. Thrive, Lavelle Thrive is a health and fitness product.
Right.
So some people might think that she might have just been following her, thinking about purchasing the product. And Shanann was doing very, very well with the sales. I mean, she was a top tier.
Oh, was she?
She was a top tier salesperson in the multi-level marketing, and actually it paid for her car. It paid for her white Lexus. So
yet they were still having serious...
They were having serious financial issues. Yeah, that'll be another deep dive into that. But yeah, so she was doing quite well, and that's why she went on all those trips. But see, those trips and all that she did for Thrive, they're not free. You pay for the airfare, I believe, and they give you the accommodations. You know what I mean? Plus, it costs so much money to sell those products.
Yes.
You have to buy them to sell them. So we really don't know. I mean, she was successful in the company, but we don't know like what the monetary. A few talking points about what Peter had spoken about. So the first one was when Shanann went to North Carolina for 6 weeks. The last week of the trip, Chris Watts joined her. And Nichol said, go and work this out with your family. Okay? But then proceeded to send him tons of messages, tons of nudes, tons of pictures that he hid in his secret calculator app on his phone. So there's one of the major contradictions. Work it out with your family, but hey, look what you got back home. Here's me all cute and naked, or in my little bikini, or doing my little, I'm sure you've seen the pictures, doing my little yoga pose, so there's a major contradiction right there. That's a huge problem. Then she didn't want all the stuff, but you have such a beautiful life. And in her interview, if you've listened to her interviews, we're not going to do the deep dive, but I'm going to give a little bit of information. She went on and on about her apartment and how she furnished it with secondhand items from the Salvation Army and Craigslist, and what a beautiful place she had made with all this secondhand stuff. Okay, now, if you have seen the Watts' house, let me just tell you, there were beautiful sculptures, beautiful paintings. It looked like a Better Homes and Gardens house, which is the MLM way. You are selling your life if you're selling an MLM.
Yes, absolutely. With MLM, you are.
Right. This is my perfect life. This is my perfect family. This is my perfect
come
marriage.
With me and you can have this too.
Right. Join Thrive. Be under me, and pimp yourself out on social media as much as you can to sell these products that a lot of people. There's like a lot of bad stuff out there about the Thrive products. So there was that too. Sorry, I'm stopping. And then the no first things. Okay, so if Nichol Kessinger had Googled Shanann and knew she was pregnant, and pretty much most people in the circles knew it was a boy, okay? Yeah. So then to say, oh, I want to give you your first son, knowing she's pregnant.
With a boy.
Yeah, if she knew it was a boy. Even if she didn't know it was a boy, come on.
Well, they already had a name for the kid, so
right, he'd already been named.
It was out there.
Yes, the name was Nico, the kid.
Yes.
Yeah, Pete's the anti-parent parent. Okay. And then?
That was it.
That's it? Okay, yeah, so I truly believe she was stalking Shanann. There was so much out there. If you're working with this guy, all right, so here's how it could have went down. I'll give you a scenario how it could have went down. So even if she did only met him at work or saw him, she must have passed him at work before she, we can't find out when she started working there either.
It says March, April of
March or April, okay.
Yeah, March or April.
So March or April, she sees this guy, she thinks she's hot, she finds out his name, she goes online, we've all done it, right, ladies, gentlemen? I'm sure guys do it too. Do guys do it too?
No.
No, okay. So ladies, or, those who identify as ladies, you know what I'm talking about. You see this guy, you think he's cute, you go look up his socials, So I'm sure she looked up Chris Watts, and then she saw his wife in pictures, right? And then she saw her. Then she saw the kids. Then she saw the beautiful home. Then she saw the beautiful pool. Then she saw all the stuff they had. So we don't know what came first, the chicken or the egg. Did Watts see her and he said she took his breath away? And by the way, my sexy empanada, that was his nickname for her because she had Spanish blood in her. You didn't know that. That's why I threw that out there. Yeah, because he was like, what? So, there was that as well. It just stinks. The whole thing stinks.
Yeah, it really does.
I mean, and here's your wife at home taking care of your kids. You're in this role where you're a dad, and your whole life is consumed by being a dad. And here comes this woman who's going to make her whole life, now she wants to make his whole life about him. They're going to car shows, they're going to museums, they're doing what he likes to do. They went to the sand dunes and boarded, I guess sandboard it's called. They sandboarded at the sand dunes park. They camped there. Shanann did not like camping. Using a rotary phone was probably roughing it to Shanann.
Yeah.
And here's this, so she's, Nichol Kessinger is going to just camp out in the sand dunes. Shanann wouldn't have done that.
No.
You know what I mean? So I think she saw him. She wanted him. I believe she pursued him. I don't believe it was the other way around. I really
and
don't.
especially if that is true, that she was actually looking him up 6-8 months before she even claims to have met him. So.
And her whole existence is shrouded in secrecy.
Which is why I find this part of the whole thing the most interesting. Because it is the most, there's not a lot of information out there. She
fell off the face of the earth.
She really did. She changed her name, apparently. Her dad, that's another component that I really want to look into, because
that as well, yes.
The dad is sort of a wild card in all this. So,
I mean, what adult takes their dad to an interrogation?
The one whose dad can make everything stop immediately, which seems to have happened.
Because if you're a true follower, you know that McKenna Lindstrom, the babysitter, who was only 16 at the time, she interviewed without her parents. Nichol Kessinger, who was, 30, I think, at the time?
Yeah.
She was 30, I think Watts was 34.
Right.
Goes to the interview with her daddy, okay? So that's a little sus,
And then
too.
her daddy comes to the interview, and everything stops, and everything goes away, and Nichol Kessinger rides off into the sunset, never to be seen again. Which is, so what did the dude do? If you Google him, he's an engineer.
Even Casey Anthony, who is probably one of the most hated women in America next to Nichol Kessinger, she even stuck around. We even knew what she was doing and saw Nichol Kessinger, she pulled an NSYNC, bye. The reunion's in May. If you're an NSYNC fan, they're going to do a tour in May. If you'd like to join me and you're in the Pennsylvania area, hit me up. We'll go to NSYNC together. Go to the NSYNC concert together, because he's not a fan.
No.
Yeah, so it just makes no sense whatsoever. Now, something did emerge on Reddit a few years after the murders, where someone was verified as being an associate of Nichol Kessinger. And she basically gave no information, so there was that. If you know anything.
Yes, please, in the comments, put your theories, put what you know. But I've said it before in other videos, and I'm going to say it again. I approach these cases as if I was on the jury. I need the information that is going to convince me that somebody is either guilty or not guilty. I don't get into all of this presumed speculation. I want hard evidence. And in this case, there's really not. It's just so difficult, because everything shut off so quickly with this. As soon as he confessed, as soon as he said, yes, I did it, this is what I did, everything just stopped. There was no more investigation, which is odd to me as well. Any law enforcement agency will tell you that, okay, this person confessed, but that's not the end of the investigation, because what they're looking for is, okay, this dude said he did it. Well, first we need to verify that, yes, he really did do it, but was there any accomplices? Was there anybody else involved in this? And that's why they continue these investigations months, years after somebody confesses to a murder. So in this case, he confessed in August, and he pled guilty in November. That quickly, it was done. Everything shut down, no more information. The forensics on this is spotty. The autopsies were spotty. And all the information coming out of it is spotty. So we don't know a lot of hard evidence. That's why I asked at the beginning of the video, if you have pay stubs, you have resumes, anything showing Nichol Kessinger's trail would be interesting to me. So anybody that has that out there, please feel free to put it in the comments, send it to us, whatever. We will definitely take a look at it, because in this case, Mary is different than I am. She has a lot of other things that she's interested in. To me, it's all about Nichol Kessinger. What was her involvement? What did she put him up to this? Was she involved in it? There's a lot of, and again, we'll get this in other videos, but there's some stuff out there that places her at the scene of the crime. So where is this going? So that's
not
why
quite at the scene, but cell phone things, yeah.
Close enough, yeah.
It appears as if they spent more time investigating Paul Simon and Julio down by the schoolyard than they did investigating this case, because it wrapped up in 2 months. You're talking the biggest case in America since probably Brian Koberger, right? I'm thinking probably at this time, I would think Brian Koberger is the biggest case in America. That's the one that gets all the attention. That's the one we're waiting on. That's the one that they're throwing everything against the wall to see what sticks, because it's pretty much a slam dunk in my opinion, but he and I won't go there.
We don't agree on this.
But now, one important thing to remember though is that there was the DA Rourke, his election was up in November.
Well, and this seems to be a theme in a lot of these cases,
yes,
doesn't
elections.
it?
Elections are
time.
a big theme in crime.
Yes, they really seem to be.
Look at our favorite case that's going on now, Delphi.
Yeah.
So something was fishy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I said, we will be diving into this deeper in future videos, so keep an eye out for that. I have a small playlist started for this, but it's going to be growing, so if you want to check out some of our, we only did a couple other videos, again, just overviews, but moving forward, we're going to do a lot more deep, in-depth.
We've dabbled in Watts. We'll be deep diving
We
in the
will be
future.
deep diving in the future, yes, definitely.
That's a great place to end.
Yes.
And now the cider.
Absolutely.
For the Sunday. It's the Sunday cider.
And it's from our favorite cider place, Hardball Cider. It's our favorite, I guess, because it's probably the closest to us.
Well, they have the most flavors and everything, yeah.
They have a ton of different flavors, and they're all excellent.
That one near Scranton is very good, though, too.
It is.
Yeah, that one's good, too.
But they also do some wine, so they have wine, some local wines that are available. They do music. They have trivia, and they always seem to get really good food trucks.
Mm-hmm. Yes, they do.
And it's a really nice property. They're expanding it. They've opened up this barn. We went one time, so I'm hoping it gets improved a little bit. But
he wasn't a fan of the barn, yeah.
Yeah, and they have different activities. So it is a lot of fun going to Hardball Cider. But this is their Rise Ball. It's a raspberry hard cider. If you're not familiar with cider, it's sort of like a nice transition between beer and wine.
Yes.
I guess is one way to look at it. And a lot of you'll find some ciders that are very sweet. Most of their ciders aren't super sweet.
No, and
they have like maybe one or two, but most of them are more on the dry side with a lot of fruit.
And if they have
infused.
fruit, though, it's not super fruity. It's not like fruit juice. It's more like the flavors, kind of like you said, the flavors infused.
Yeah, definitely.
And this is Rise Ball, which is a raspberry infusion.
Right.
And it's got the nice tartness of the raspberry with the sweet of the apple. People liked my description of the wine in the last video, so now I'll be describing it. So yes, you have the tart juiciness of the raspberry with the sweet juiciness of the apple, and the flavors come together.
Big fan of the flavors coming together.
Yes, we are. So if you ever get down to Hardball, if you ever get to Pennsylvania, give us a call and we'll meet you at Hardball.
Absolutely.
And we'll have some Rise Ball together.
Definitely. All right. Anything else to add?
That's all for now, but we're going to have a lot to add, aren't we?
We
Not
are.
right now, though.
Yes. All right.
We are True Crime and Wine Couple. Happy Sunday, happy St. Patrick's Day, and we'll catch you on the flip side of the next video.